Welcome to So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. Are you evaluating your career in real estate? Feel like you're ready for a fresh start or ready to take your career to the next level? This is your podcast. Welcome back to So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. This is season 6, and I am here with my co-host, Alicia Soikawa. All right, so today we are talking about, this is a mini episode, we're talking about what we're reading right now, and wait till you see what we are reading. The Law of Success by Napoleon Hill. Yeah, look at the thickness of this book, and it is not like big writing either. Yeah,
It is like a textbook. Let me see how many
it does feel like that. Yeah, and see how many pages is it? It's long.
little footnotes. It's
What I think is
600, it's like basically 600 pages long.
600 pages. Okay. What's interesting is I think a lot of people know Napoleon Hill for Think and Grow Rich, which we have read, of course, multiple times, and is a great book. If you haven't read it, highly, highly recommend. So Alicia and I are in a mastermind group that meets on Saturday mornings. And it started as a book club, really. So we're like, okay, let's get back to the book club piece of it. And what we decided to read was this one now, which is The Law of Success. And we'll continue to share what we're reading. This book is a labor of love. It's a dedication of time. And Alicia, you said we should tell people how hard it is to read. So what did you mean by that?
So it's just written like in 1900. So it has that like old English kind of like it's very academic. That's the word. It's academic. So you have to be really in a brain space of focus and consciously wanting to understand and read it. But I would say every amazing book with about self-improvement, self-growth, business, it all comes from this book. Like if you look at the chapters, it all stems from that. This
Really,
book,
really true.
literally.
Yeah.
It's almost like shocking.
Yeah.
Every book I've read after this, I'm like, oh, they pulled it from that. Oh, they pulled it from that. It's just
Yes. I
that's the
hadn't
OG.
thought of that, but you're exactly right. Yeah. And I think this is a good candidate, this book, for if you're on the 10 pages a day, it's like 10 pages a morning,
Mhm.
that this is a good one for that, because that's about enough of this book, I think, to read each morning. And because you will start to lose focus, I think, over time. But you're so right. So what we thought we would do today, and this is going to be a book that we examine over multiple episodes because it is so densely populated with theories, ideas, and content that relates to so much of what came after it, is we're going to give you a little overview of the chapters, and then we're going to dig into one, and not in order necessarily. We're going to go out of order today, actually. But chapter 1 is the mastermind. And this is a subject that Alicia and I, and probably one or more of our other mastermind members, will do an episode on one day. But if you have not ever been part of a mastermind, it is, I think I'm going to use the word life changing, which I don't use a whole lot. But when you're in the right group with the right people, a mastermind can be a way to almost instantaneously elevate anything that you're working on. It feels like magic. I think it's scientific when it happens, but find a mastermind to be part of if you aren't already, and watch the magic start to happen in your life. Chapter 2 is a definite chief aim. And I'm not going to talk too much about this right now, but I will tell you this is something that we've been talking a lot about in our private mastermind. So I'll leave you with just that it's a work in progress, I think, for a lot of us. Chapter 3 is self-confidence. We'll talk about that and the 6 basic fears that keep people from having a good degree of self-confidence. Chapter 4 is what we're going to talk about today, which is the habit of saving. Chapter 5 is initiative and leadership. Chapter 6 is imagination. Chapter 7 is enthusiasm. 8 is self-control. 9, the habit of doing more than paid for. 10 is pleasing personality, which I think is funny, but also important. 11 is accurate thought. And let's see, 12 is concentration. 13, cooperation. 14, failure. 15, tolerance. 16 is the golden rule. So you can see it's long. It contains a lot. But each of them is like its own little microcosm message that relates to everything else that's in the book and kind of everything else that's in life and just success in general. So it is just I think a really important read. So today, like I said, we're talking about the habit of saving. And the reason I wanted to talk about this right now is that this is a topic that I think can really make or break your career, your future, your relationships, your self-confidence. All of the other things are involved in this habit of saving. It's so crucial, I think, that with the same degree of people don't realize how crucial it is that this is really where I wanted to start. And I think also because, again, so many of the people that we interact with in the real estate world have very little mastery of the habit of saving. And again, it becomes something that we talked about, the real estate roller coaster in the last episode, that keeps them on this real estate roller coaster. Your relationship can be on a roller coaster. Your life can be on a roller coaster. The relationship you have with your children, it all revolves around this habit of saving. And it looks like a pretty simple habit. And the way Napoleon Hill breaks it down does simplify it quite a bit. But I think it is it's a topic that merits discussion. And I think if we concentrated on it more from the very beginnings of our career, I wish I had, I'll tell you that, I think we would all find ourselves in different places in our lives and in a different level of mastery of our business, and in a different place in terms of the freedom that it creates with our lives. So, Alicia, why do you think people struggle with this habit of saving?
I think it's the feeling of they want to pay all their bills, they want to get caught up, and then there's nothing left. So there's a concept, there's a smaller book called The Richest Man in Babylon, which is like a fable or a parable or whatever, a little thing that says that you really have to pay yourself first before you pay bills and pay everything else. And it's hard when you have debt or you have something that you pay off to think to even just take $10, $20, $100 and put it in your savings account for yourself. When you have all these other things that you have to pay. And then you're like, well, I'm already in the negative. But it's almost counterintuitive, kind of like when we tell, and this is a real estate show, so I can say like when we coach people to get an assistant and they're like, I don't have enough business to get an assistant. But what happens is when you're so busy and you have the money to pay the assistant, you're so busy, it's too late because you can't train the assistant to probably help you. So you're like in this weird catch-22. So it's kind of like that. It's like thinking ahead about, I know that if I save this pool of money, if I take just like tithing, you're supposed to tithe a certain amount to the church or whatever belief you have, or donate or help nonprofit, you have to take the money on the top before you start doing all, because there's never anything left.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's that's the habit. It's a discipline and a habit because it's so hard to look at it and be like, but I don't have enough to make it all go around. It's like if you have a pie and all the pie pieces of the pie are taken, there isn't anything left to put the pie in the savings. So that's why you got to take the piece of the pie first in the savings and then figure it out with the rest.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's something that is almost anathema to a lot of agents because they feel like what we see in social media and on HGTV and sometimes in the real estate agents that we interact with is very glossy, high-end looking people who clearly are spending a lot of money. So I think what we think in our minds is, well, we have a real estate transaction. That's what we get to go be and do now, right? And that's how we almost like how we have to present ourselves is as this person who's a real spender. And what's interesting is, and what's maybe also counterintuitive is, I think that's a lot of what the public perception has been that we've created that has caused the pushback that we're seeing now on paying real estate agents.
Are we overpaid?
Yeah, people feel like we're overpaid because we're walking around looking like, movie stars. Meanwhile, the debt that most of those agents probably has racked up is substantial. And they're not showing the work that they really do to get to the place that they are. But I do think there's a huge contingent of agents who are like, you get a big paycheck when you get a commission most of the time. But what you don't think about is half of that goes to taxes. How much of that should go back into your business. Much of that needs to go to pay for your personal expenses. So what you're getting,
right? Any staff
that you have,
investing in business staff to run the cost to run the business.
Right. Right. And I think sometimes, so this was always like a thing that used to be like a thorn in my side when I'd like bring home a paycheck, bring home a commission check. And let's say it was $5,000. Chris would be like, well, that's only $2,500, really. And I'd be like, why do you have to say that? So, but he's right, because at the tax rate that we're going to be taxed at for
That's
that
how you should treat
sum,
it. That's how
yeah.
you should treat it. You have to treat it as that is not your money, but you get, but of the $5,000, you should put 1,000 in savings.
Okay. So this is what I want to ask you. So tell me why. Why 1,000 in savings out of that 5,000?
I think some people will say 10%. If you can do 20%, you'll get that much further. Because
Mm-hmm.
what happens is when you have money, you can invest that money and the money will make more money, right? And you don't have to do any work. You don't have to make
Mm-hmm.
the money. So
Mm-hmm.
it's the whole concept. Anybody that's watched the movie The Minions, I kind of look at the Minions because they're fake as money. And Mr. Dr. Gru or whatever, Mr. Gru had all these little minions working all the time for him. They never
Mm-hmm.
had to like sleep or anything. Have you noticed that they just literally worked all the time?
Yeah.
Only thing that really works like that for you is money.
Okay. So money becomes like a tool that can create that
Money's a tool.
income for you.
Money's an
You're
energy.
right. It does
I
not.
like money's energy and money's a tool. And
Yeah.
so I think if you allow your money to make more money for you, you
Mhm.
will compound interest. Just like they say, like, would you rather take $1 a day for the rest of your life, or would you want to take $1 million up front?
Mm. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's the two turns into four, the
Right.
four
The compounds. Yeah.
the compounding. It's
Yeah.
like even a game. I think you've seen people test that.
Yeah.
It's really hard to see it up front, but when you see it in
Yes.
play and see it working, already I figured it out with my investment property. So we have an investment property. I don't know what took us so long to get this investment property. Like I had pooled money, like I put money up every closing, move money over, move money out.
Mhm.
And finally we got to a point where I was able to buy this off-market property
Mm.
for a great price. We fixed it up, we rented it out, but the mortgage is like 1,200 or so. And basically everything, all utilities included, it's like not even 1,400 a
Mm.
month. We
Wow.
rent it out now for 3,000 a month. So our cash flow on that
Perfect example.
is making money, but I had to have the thought to save a little bit from each deal. So I had the down payment. The
Mm-hmm.
down payment then allowed me to buy this investment property, which then not only is the down payment I'm building equity there, right? Because the loan is getting paid off, the property's building in value
Mm-hmm.
while I'm also cash flowing it.
Yep. Yep. All right. So that is a beautiful, elegant formula that you can give people right off the bat. So if you're brand new in real estate, don't just save for, I mean, absolutely save for retirement and for things that you want, but save for things like this, because this is like the superpower that I always say we have in real estate. We get to go buy things if we want to. And we get to not charge a commission to ourselves, right? Or you can and roll it back into the property. So that's something that we get to do that the rest of the general public doesn't get to do, but you only get to do it if you've done it the right way. So don't borrow 100% for it. Put enough aside from each transaction to make something like that possible. And then you've got the compounding of the money that you put, you got the minions working for you, like in that property. That's such a great example. Now, what would you say to people who they've gotten so far in their career that, and they have not saved money? And they're like, oh crap. Or right now, maybe there's a lot of agents out there who are facing a kind of like a slow time in their business. And they're feeling a little bit afraid about the fact that they haven't saved the way that they should. And maybe they've accrued a lot of debt. Maybe they have things that they've got to pay off. Maybe they have a business they're barely keeping afloat. What happens when they get their next paycheck? Do you tell them to save some from it, or what do you do?
I do. I think even if you can only save $20, save $20.
Mm-hmm.
If they're really in a bad, dire situation, I'm like, where are you spending your money?
Mm-hmm.
Where can we cut a little bit that doesn't make sense right now? And that way you can put the other money into savings. Is it mean
Mm-hmm.
like you don't eat out, you don't get Starbucks, you don't, where are you getting your groceries? Are you
Mm-hmm.
doing things like sometimes there's a little pain in making adjustments, but
Mm-hmm.
it's worth it in the short term for the long-term gain. So
Yes,
that's the whole part, is that people have to be willing to be uncomfortable in the short term so that
yeah,
later on it's better. So,
absolutely. So
right,
it's
because
the
that's all
small
it is
change you
about.
can
It's like,
make.
are you trying to get this, like they just want to win. It's the people that are chasing the fast thing that is not sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I think in the book, he even says something like, start with and remember this was from the early 1900s, but
Yeah.
start with an account of $200 to $300 and just put a little bit away, a little bit away. But I think that still stands true
That still
today.
stays true now. I mean,
Yeah.
and then to save it into your savings, the big thing they say is that you should have at least 3 to 6 months money. So if you start at least building that money and you have a slow month as an agent, you can live off of that 3 to 6 month your buffer.
Yep.
You don't need to waste it. You don't need to go buy something stupid with it, but
Right.
you save it there. That's untouchable.
Yes.
That's your emergency fund for, I had to use it my last year. I used up all my emergency fund last year.
Mm,
And thank God I had the foresight to do that
yeah.
because it allowed us to stay afloat. It allowed us to grow and do the things we needed to do without freaking out too much. But it was still very painful to use it. So now I'm trying to refill it this year, right? So that I can buy into a syndication, which we'll talk about that another time.
Ooh, that's a good, okay.
So
That's a good episode. All right.
that's a real life example.
It is. It is.
Right,
It's real life, and it happens to almost everybody at some point in their career, I
Yeah.
think. The other
Yeah.
thing that I loved about this, and we'll wrap on this thought, is with in this chapter, what really resonated for me was back to the kind of example of, or it could be really a lesson, I'm going to call it, of that glitzy agent who looks like they have it all because that's what they're showing you on social media or on HGTV, but really they have tons of debt. There's one specific example who I won't name, but I can think of, that came across as like this person was on HGTV. This person would fly to events in a private jet, and was all the ego in the world. All looked like all the things were happening, and lo and behold, this person had hundreds of thousands, I think maybe over $1 million in tax liens. So you would never have known it, but man, that must have been like an albatross hanging around that person's neck all the time. That's the kind of thing that overspending and not taking care of your obligations can do. And the opposite side of this. But I'm sure that there were people who saw this person and thought, I've got to live to that standard, and saw that as being like the golden shining example of what to be. But what this chapter talks about is that, in fact, the people that society respects the most and the people that society rewards the most and that business rewards the most as well are the people who have mastered control of money and mastered the habit of savings so that they do have control over their money. Because when you have control over your money and can put it to work for you, that's what creates ultimate freedom. That's what gets you whatever you want in life.
And that's what life's about, is freedom.
Yeah.
Really. That's all people really want.
Exactly. All right. So, little mini episode. We will continue talking about the law of success. We'll figure out which one we're going to do next time. But until
comment below, I would say comment below or DM one of us to say, which one kind of resonates with you or which one do you think you struggle with most?
Good idea.
Because I'm curious to see what people struggle with.
Love that. And comment too if you've read this book. I wonder how many people have.
Oh, I know. I think that some people don't even know that exists.
Probably. I didn't. All right. This has been a good one. So this has been So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. We'll see you next time. We are so grateful you have joined us today. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe to our show or share it with people that you think would benefit. And please remember to leave us a review or rating on the platform on which you are listening.
And if you've got questions about Tom Ferry coaching, have the both of us here, please contact us directly. We would love to answer your questions. Or if you're just curious, we'd love to have a conversation. You can reach us at any of our social media outlets or shoot us a direct message.